Okay guys, so today we'll be taking a look at the Economist forecast for the 2020 presidential election, and first we'll just be filling in the Economist forecast electoral map for this election based on Joe Biden and Donald Trump's chances of victory in each state. So the margin that they use are solid is 99% or more in favor of either candidate if each candidate has an over 99% chance of winning. Between 85 and 95 or 99% that is likely, of course. Lean is between 65 and 85%, and then anywhere from 50 to 65% that is tilt. So before we get into this, make sure you join my Discord server if you have not. The link is at the very top of the description below, and we're doing many giveaways, events, and contests on there, so make sure you join so you don't miss out on all of that. Link again at the very top of the description below. I've also launched channel memberships on this channel. They're just 99 cents per month, and you get access to some pretty sweet perks, so make sure you consider joining my channel if you're interested in that. Just 99 cents per month, and you can find all the details by clicking that blue join button next to the subscribe button. So taking a look at our electoral map here, Joe Biden has solid states. He's going to have all of the West Coast, all very solid for Joe Biden, over a 99% chance of winning. Hawaii, of course, but Colorado and New Mexico are also solid states for Joe Biden. That means he has an over 99% chance of winning these two states. Illinois also solid. Virginia as well, which is surprising. This was a state that Clinton only won narrowly by 5%, and a state that she was actually losing in for quite a while on election night. The numbers on election night for Clinton really weren't looking too good until those final northern counties reported their results, and Clinton was able to gain a huge boost from that. Those northern Virginia counties, they are Democratic counties. They used to be Republican counties. However, once they flipped, they literally flipped the entire state of Virginia. And then most of the Northeast here, this is all going to be very solid for Joe Biden. Very solid Democratic area. Basically all of the Northeast is solid. I don't know how I keep messing up there, but the District of Columbia is going to be solid, as well as the state of Maine overall. There really isn't any different classifications for the 1st and 2nd district on this forecast. And then for all of the solid Trump states, we have Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, North and South Dakota. We have Nebraska, as well as Kansas and Oklahoma, and most of the South is all solid, along Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and surprisingly, Indiana is solid on this electoral map. And then for the likely states for President Trump, we have Montana, we have Missouri, Mississippi, South Carolina, and Alaska. The usual, really nothing too surprising here for Joe Biden. His likely states, we have the states of Nevada, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and then Pennsylvania, putting him over 270 electoral votes. We also have the state of New Hampshire, so this gives Joe Biden 279 electoral votes, which is basically every single electoral vote that Clinton won in 2016, in addition to the 3 states that she lost: Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, part of the blue wall that Trump was able to break through in 2016. And then she did not win the 2nd district, but since Maine is counted as just one state, it's going to have that second electoral vote, or that electoral vote from the 2nd district, go to Joe Biden, putting him up at 279 electoral votes. And now for the lean states for both candidates. The lean states are basically states in which either candidate has a 65 to 85% chance of winning. For Donald Trump, we have one state, that is Texas, so really not surprising. Texas has been sitting around the 70%, I believe, range, the 70% range on most forecasts for President Trump, which is not great. This was a solid state in 2012. I mean, Bush won the state by 22% in 2004, so the state has seen a huge shift to the left. Trump only won the state by 8%, and this time around, it's definitely going to decrease by at least 6%, in my opinion. I think the state will get very, very close on election night, but still, I still do agree that it will probably go to President Trump at the end, but the margins will be absolutely tiny. For Joe Biden, he only has 3 more states left. That is, of course, Arizona, Florida, and North Carolina. So I don't know why I said Wisconsin there, but Florida and North Carolina. So these 3 states are the final states for Joe Biden, putting him up at 334 electoral votes, outperforming Barack Obama in 2012. For President Trump, he will also have 3 remaining states: Iowa, Ohio, and Georgia, except that these 3 states are all tilt states, which means he has a less than 65% chance of winning these states. And these 3 states, I mean, Georgia and Ohio, I believe he has a 51% chance at winning Georgia, and 53 for Ohio, and then a little bit more for Ohio, and then he has a 53% chance in Iowa, not Ohio. But, you know, Trump barely has an edge over Joe Biden in these 3 states, so he's narrowly leading over Biden in Iowa, Ohio, and Georgia, which puts him at just right over 200 electoral votes. He sits up there at 204. Joe Biden, 334 electoral votes. So this is the new updated Economist Forecast Electoral Map. Now, taking a look at the actual Economist Forecast, as you can see here, Joe Biden right now has peaked once again. He has a 94% chance of winning the election to President Trump with just 5%. That is staggering. I mean, this forecast is one of the best forecasts out there. It was probably one of the most accurate in 2016. Of course, some of the forecasts were accurate in 2016. They all predicted a Clinton victory, but last time they gave Donald Trump an over 30% chance of winning the election in 2016. However, this time around, they only give Trump a 5% chance. This forecast overestimated Trump compared to other forecasts 4 years ago, and now they only give Trump a 5% chance of victory, 1 in 20. So this forecast is one of the better forecasts, and they barely give Trump a chance of victory. I believe 538 is a little bit better for Trump. I believe they gave Trump right now around a 10 to 13% chance of victory. So Economist is a little bit more favorable to Joe Biden, but still, this is a pretty good forecast. I mean, this electoral map, I definitely can agree with this. I think that this is definitely a very likely electoral map situation. I think North Carolina and Florida are going to be pretty close, but I still think that they will go to Joe Biden. And these three states, Georgia, Ohio, and Iowa, will also, I think, will be very close. But I do think that Trump will come out as the eventual winner in these three states. And then the predicted range of electoral votes is 243 to 421 for Biden, 117 to 295 for Trump. What this means is that according to this forecast, the worst possible situation for Joe Biden, if Joe Biden has the worst night he could possibly have, he will still win 243 electoral votes. That is 11 more electoral votes than what Clinton won in 2016. So Clinton's scenario, which she actually won in 2016, is 11 electoral votes, the worst case scenario for Joe Biden. And this range is, I believe, almost 200 electoral votes. I mean, this range is huge. And then for President Trump, his best is 295 electoral votes, which means that in Donald Trump's best case scenario, if Donald Trump has the best night he could possibly have, according to this forecast, he will still only win at most 11 electoral votes less than what he won in 2016 at 295. So in his worst case scenario, Donald Trump will not cross 300 electoral votes. And then taking a look at the average amount of electoral votes each candidate is expected to win, Joe Biden's up there at 350, which is actually quite a bit higher than this. But when we take a look at the electoral map, we'll see why it's not too surprising. But 350 for Joe Biden, 188. We are just 8 days away from the election. I mean, I've been covering this for, I believe, around 5 months at this point, so it's pretty exciting. The election is finally going to end. I mean, we've been waiting 4 years for this, and I think that Joe Biden right now is in a pretty good stance right now situation, because honestly, if you asked me during the Democratic primaries, I would have said that Biden would have lost the election. I think that although Biden would have been better than Clinton, I do think he still would have lost the election. But after all that's happened, 2020, so much has happened this year. I mean, we saw COVID-19 really flare up in April and March and May. Those are, those few months were just heavy lockdowns, and mainly the focus was COVID-19. And then as we got more used to it, we all started to come out a little bit more, which didn't help the situation. COVID-19 is now peaking again for the third time. And then in the month of June and July, we saw huge racial riots, which have really put a spotlight on racial issues in our country once again. I mean, before, the issue really wasn't one of the most talked about issues, one of the most important issues to voters before then. But once we hit June and July and those racial riots after the unfortunate killing of George Floyd, those riots, I think, really did put, a huge amount of, had a huge effect on the Trump campaign. That was really when the Trump numbers really started to dip down after those riots started. I mean, it wasn't looking good for him in May, but after June, it was just worse, and he's never recovered from that. And then, as of right now, in the months of August, September, we've seen Trump do a little bit better, but after that first debate, Trump's numbers came down again, and I think that with 8 days to go, I really do not feel as if Biden is going to lose this election. I mean, if we consider 2016, there really weren't any polls conducted at the end. The later polls were conducted by Trafalgar Group, which is why they were able to get it right. They were the only poll to conduct, they were the only pollster to conduct polls in those final days leading up to the election. And the election is held earlier, so it's on the 3rd this time. It was on the 8th last time, so it's 5 days earlier. That is something that we have to consider. So at this point in time, in 2016, most pollsters were releasing their last polls for the election. But this time around, because of what happened in 2016, I think that we will see a lot more polls up until election night. So I think we'll have an even clearer picture for this election as more data will come out for us this time around. And Joe Biden is still looking very good. According to Joe Biden's chances of victory right here, he has never been doing better. I mean, last time I took a look at this, I believe that he was at 91% and Trump was at 9%. So right now, 94% Joe Biden has peaked once again on the Economist forecast. And, his numbers really aren't expected to do much better than he was before. I mean, he was at 350 on August 26th. If we take a look at his chances on August 26th, it was 89%. The reason why it's higher now is because throughout basically all of June and July, I myself, along with most people, did expect President Trump's numbers to increase. And in the months of August and September, we definitely did see this. After the RNC, we saw some pretty huge bumps for President Trump in many states. He was getting closer in North Carolina. He was getting closer in Arizona. He was getting closer in Florida. Even Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, but he never really got too close. And then after the first debate, it just shattered all the momentum that Trump had, this small amount of momentum. And then he is losing in money. He had $1.4 billion raised since 2016. He has basically spent all of that. And I mean, he only has, I believe, 43 million, less than that at this point in time. And he's also campaigning in New Hampshire and Maine. I don't know why he's doing that. He's not going to win New Hampshire. He's not going to win Maine. I can promise you that. I mean, he can win the 2nd District of Maine, definitely. But, I mean, what is that going to do from one electoral vote? That's not going to change the election unless we have a 269 tie, which is almost definitely not going to happen. The race is just too... it's just too unlikely. There's no other way to put it. And so I think that President Trump has definitely made many mistakes. And, we see that President Trump, I think, is worried. I mean, we're seeing that he is just spreading lies constantly. I mean, I think his new campaign strategy is honestly just to spread lies. I mean, if you watch any of his speeches, any of his debate performances, even that 60 Minutes interview, which I think you really should watch on 6CBS, I believe. So 60 Minutes interview with President Trump that did not end well. That was an interview that Trump just walked out on. That was completely unprofessional. He was constantly complaining about the questions, but I thought they were fair questions. And the reason why Biden does get easier questions, I mean, he doesn't get easier questions. He does get asked some tough questions, but the reason why Trump gets asked more is because he is the current president and he is in charge of the country, and the things that have occurred in the country, he is partly responsible for. Joe Biden has nothing to do with that as of this moment in time. He has nothing to do with the COVID-19 response because he can't physically do anything. But President Trump, he is in charge. He chose the people who are going to lead the task force, and he did not choose good people, clearly, because nothing good has come out. I mean, we are doing horribly with cases right now, and it's just all hurting the Trump campaign, and I don't see a pathway to victory at this point with just 8 days to go. It would be more exciting if the election was closer, that is true, but I think that Joe Biden doing so well, I think will be a step forward for this country. I mean, I typically don't like to share my political preferences, but I think that Trump, just with all the lying and disinformation he's been spreading, I don't think that is good for democracy. And, I'm not a progressive or a super liberal. I did not support Bernie Sanders. I think that I agree with him on some areas, but I tend to think of myself more as a centrist in my opinion. So I am a little bit more to the left at this point in time just because of what the GOP has done. But I do like Joe Biden. I think that I do have a very favorable view of Joe Biden. President Trump, not so much, but we'll see. I mean, if Trump wins the election, I will gladly congratulate him. I think that if he wins, then if most people want him to be president, if the Electoral College, which is what, we choose our president by, I think that if President Trump wins, I'm not going to do anything about it. Like, if he wins fair and square, I think that is props to him. But right now, his chances of victory are just so low. I know I typically don't like to talk about, how I view the election personally, but I just wanted to talk about that a little bit more as the election years. I want to talk about, more of myself. So Joe Biden has a 94% chance of victory right now. Things are just not looking good for the Trump campaign. I mean, taking a look at the chances of winning each state, we see that Joe Biden this is what I modeled this electoral map out of. Joe Biden's doing very well in most states. He's doing very well in these 3 states he needs to win. Wisconsin, 95% chance of victory. Michigan, 96. Pennsylvania, 92. These are the only 3 states Joe Biden needs to win, aside from the 2016 Clinton states, and he wins the election. So that's just Again, I'm not even going to talk about how great this is for Joe Biden. You can take a look at the numbers yourself on the Economist Forecast. Georgia, Biden has a 49% chance of victory. Donald Trump barely leads over 51. Iowa, 53 for Trump only. Ohio, 62. That's a little bit better. Texas, 70%. So still, these numbers are still not on Trump's side, even though he is seeing marginal improvements. And here just shows what states that Trump needs to win, what states Trump is lacking in, and all of that. And so these are the key states. You see that the 2016 margins, most of them did go to Trump. Trump did pretty well in 2016. Honestly, he did much better than expected. Flipping the Rust Belt. I think that Trump definitely was able to connect with these voters, but this time around, it's not happening this time around. It's just not. And 2016, he won, these 3 states, and that was a big deal because these states had not voted for a Republican in the last 6 elections. Wisconsin last 7, I believe, and Minnesota, the state with the longest running Democratic voting streak. He got very, very close to winning. He got very close to winning New Hampshire. Nevada was closer. States like Colorado and New Mexico, they were pretty close. Virginia was really close. So Trump did very well in 2016. This time, he is not doing as well. I don't think he did well. I just think that compared to what we expected, I think he did do very, very well. This time, I think the polls have improved. I think everything has improved, and I think that Joe Biden is still on the pathway to victory. Definitely, Trump can still win. Definitely he can. He still has a 5% chance of victory. 1 in 20, that's not too bad when considering becoming the president of the United States. So definitely we should not rule out a Trump victory, and we should make sure that we do not get complacent. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care what you support. Just vote for what you believe in. Vote for the candidate you want us to lead for the next 4 years. And when you're voting, don't take into account the polls. Don't just say, I live in California, which I do, but just don't say I live in California and California's not going to vote red, so I just shouldn't vote. Make sure that you vote. It's important, vote down ballot as well, so that you have people representing you that representing the issues that you support. So make sure you vote. It's very important, and don't skip out even though you think that your candidate's probably going to win anyways, because it's a huge chance that they won't. So the model popular vote on each day, this is basically the popular vote that they model on each day that I expect to be. And then Biden is expected to win 54.3% of the popular vote by election night, which actually I think is pretty surprising. Right now he's at 54.5, so really that isn't too much of a drop. Throughout the entire election cycle, we've seen Biden's numbers, expected to drop, and right now, he is not, which is surprising. On election night, Joe Biden is expected to win the 2020 presidential election by a margin of 8.6%, which I think would almost definitely win Biden the election. This is just the polls highlighted a little bit more. You can take a look at all these polls by yourself. This poll up here, Biden plus 18%. That's the online poll, but still, it's pretty surprising to see. These polls are pretty interesting to take a look. You should definitely take a look at this for yourself. This is one of the better forecasts. And if you want to get deeper into this forecast, you can take a look at all these state by state projections, just like they do on 538. All the competitive states are up there. Definitely check out this forecast. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've talked a little bit more about myself, a little bit more about the state of this election, how I feel about both candidates. Definitely I'm going to try to remain as non-biased as I can, because I'm not the biggest supporter of either candidate, but I do I do like Joe Biden a little bit more, so make sure you keep that in mind. But yeah, I just hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you comment down below whether you guys like me talking a little bit more about myself, or you guys just want those solely fact-based videos, I guess. So leave that in the comments below. Also, I will be doing my official prediction tomorrow. This basically just showing how states move, comparing each state to the voter registration as well as demographics in each state. So which state corresponds to the other states most. You can take a look at this by yourself. This I don't think is too important. So yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I want to thank you guys all so much for all the support in those past videos the last couple of days. Just a huge growth on my channel. Thank you guys all so much. I appreciate everyone, especially if you've been watching since the beginning, or even if you've been watching just from yesterday or today, or if this is your first video. Thank you guys all so much for all the support. Make sure you join my Discord server if you have not. We also have a pretty cool mock government on there, which I think is pretty fun to be a part of. We have, I believe we already filled in our Canada and US electoral maps for our Senate, so I think that's pretty cool. So make sure you join that if you're interested. The link again is at the very top of the description below. In addition to that, I've also launched channel memberships again, so they're 99 cents per month. Make sure you consider joining. And so yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching, so much for all of your support. And like, comment, and subscribe if you have not. And I will see all of you guys tomorrow for my 2020 election prediction.